Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the last panel of the day. My name is Abdel Watian. I'm going to be covering this panel about the media mix, how to balance owned and paid media. In this day and age, we all know it's a crowded landscape all around Kuwait and the GCC, with a lot of different sectors when it comes to marketing campaigns. Uh, the idea of visibility is not enough. When you do any marketing campaign, the idea is to have a cohesive story on all of your channels. Today we have industry experts with us. I know we're not supposed to introduce them because it's written, but you know, us marketing people, we do our own thing and don't listen to anyone. So we have Ahmed Nagi, marketing director at Yellow Pizza. Yellow Pizza is a brand that we have grown to love. It's a local favorite, and you see it all around Kuwait. We have Fajr Hayat, the creator behind Fajr Eats, one of the pioneers or the first ones who started this whole food blogging realm. And we have Adil Al-Masri, the founder of Persona Global, a leading brand and portfolio company that's actually influencer-led, that's expanding into Kuwait very soon, but right now they're in the GCC. Let's jump right in. Thank you, guys. To start off, I'd like to zoom out a little bit. I want to know your thoughts on the role of owned and paid media in today's landscape. Ahmed.
So I think both of them are just as important. When it comes to paid media, it's a very good tool for push strategy where you can make sure that your message reaches people en masse. However, when it comes to your own channels, this is where you get to be yourself as a brand. I think it's something that a lot of people underestimate or don't give a lot of thought towards. So if you take a look at a lot of the brands that use their own owned channels, what they'll do there is they'll focus on pushing offers, they'll go with the generic stuff, when I think owned channels is the space where you can actually build loyalty through building your brand persona. People don't, I see a lot of brands don't understand the importance of building a brand persona because this is, your brand persona is what will make people relate to you. And it's going to make them very loyal to you. If you take a look at our brands in Swish, one of the key factors that makes people love our brands is that they feel human. We really spend a lot of time building the brand persona, 100%. Making sure it feels very human, and spending so much time trying to be consistent with that brand persona. And so what happens is, we don't just have people who love our products, we have people who love our brands. And especially in a very aggressive market like Kuwait,
Right.
whatever you're selling as a product, I'm pretty sure there are like 1,000 other brands selling the same kind of product.
True.
And you can never say that. For example, if I ask you what is the best burger in Kuwait, there's no real answer. What you think is good might not be good for me. But then when you have people loving your brand, they will sacrifice, or they might get out of their way and choose your product over someone else just because they love you as a brand.
And the brand persona.
This is where owned channels play a massive role, because you cannot afford to spend so much on paid media to build your brand persona, while sacrificing also on sending out the, let's say, more transactional message that you need to send out to your customer to generate sales.
Fajr, from an influencer or a food blogging perspective, how do you see it?
So, testing? Okay, good. So I think لما نفكر بهذا الشيء, or when I think about these three different entities, a lot of people in restaurants or the marketing teams think that these are three separate strategies that you need to work on. And I think that's the trap that a lot of restaurants fall in, right? You don't want to keep, you don't want to be in this vicious cycle of paid influencers, paid marketing, paid content. To add on Ahmed, I think it's very important to invest in your owned media, right? So you have three parts. You have owned media, you have paid media, and then you have earned media. The most valuable is your earned media, and you can get that for free if you invest in your owned media, صح? That's
right.
Your home base.
Right.
Your home base, your personality, your values, you have full control of your own media. I think that's the most important thing when building a restaurant or actually any concept, if it's food or non-food, to invest in your own media, your own website, your own content, your Instagram, your social media platforms. I think that's number one in order to receive free earned media, right?
Yes.
And then the middle part, which is paid media, should complement your brand, should push your brand, widen your reach, right? But it shouldn't be your main focus.
True.
You know
So
what I
it's
mean?
orchestrating.
So just building a strategy with these three entities where they are يكملون بعض, they complete each other, right? You can't have one without the other. And we do see a lot of restaurants who invest mostly in one of these entities, when in reality, you need a team that is able to achieve equality between all three. Correct?
Great.
Yeah.
Yes. And Adil, from UAE and KSA perspective, do you see it a bit different than here?
Well, to be honest, they have said it all, but what I would like is to simplify how I think about it. So when we talk about own media, is how the brand wants to express about itself, right? It's because it's our account, how we are expressing. And when you go for paid media, is what we want to force on people to see in a way or another, either an offer, either something that contribute to our KPIs or unit economics. But the earned media is the source of truth of how people think about your brand. So they said it all. You have to make a balance between them, but earned media is the source of truth to see how people think, feel about your brand, and this is what should be used as a measurement, because if it's an F&B concept, let's say an earned media can be comments on delivery aggregator, how people think about your brand, right? Or comments on social media, or someone that had a bad food review and he go and just speak a lot of bad stuff about you on social media, or the contrary. So earned media is the source of truth. So creating balance between both owned and paid is good, but I always refer to earned media as the place where we can take insights and know where we are and how we can move to a better place.
And Adil, do you think there's a channel that people over-rely on or brands over-rely on? Do it more than the other?
Usually brands are now focusing on paid media much more because there's so much competition and all brands are paying, so there's no place to show. And that's bringing market fatigue in a way or another.
True.
Right? But there is always place for organic, there's always place for human content, there's always place for brands that surprise you with the type of content that you wouldn't be expecting. So I think most brands, they are forced to engage more on paid media, but there's always places elsewhere where they can express themselves organically.
True. And Fajr, do you think the same thing about that?
I agree.
Is there a channel that they do more often?
I think when it comes to, you're asking me one of these medias, definitely I think a lot of concepts and restaurants here, because the market is so saturated and it's so aggressive in Kuwait, I think for sure restaurants invest a lot more in paid. Yeah, definitely paid. But in reality, even the content creators and influencers will want to create content for you if you invest in your owned media and you have a good owned media base. Your concept is strong, your customer experience is strong, the product is, you fully invest in the product, it's a good customer experience. I think content creators will be attracted to come to you and create content for you for free. So there's a lot to explore when it comes to customer experience, product perfection, and restaurants need to realize this because we see them wasting their budget and fully investing in things that might give them short-term ROI, but you want the long term. You want the long-term relationships and you want the earned media.
And Ahmed, your thoughts on that?
I mean, look, this is, I think, is a very big question, and I think it is one of the biggest pain points I see. I think a lot of the brands that I see, not just in Kuwait, but all over the world, they overuse social media. To them, social media is their marketing strategy, and I think this is the biggest mistake you can make. Social media is not a marketing strategy; it is just a tool. You use it when you need to use it. What they will be too scared to invest in is paid media for brand building. So for example, I remember having this conversation with one of a brand owner once. And I told him, look, you need to start investing in mass prime channels, like, you know, outdoors, video production, all that kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, but this stuff doesn't generate sales on the short term, and I can't, I'm not gonna have a direct ROI on it. My response to him was this: when you go out and you open up a new store, you're probably gonna pay K money, you're gonna buy the store, and whatever you're gonna pay in terms of assets, you're going to depreciate or amortize over 5 years, right? So for example, if you pay 100,000 KD for a store, you're not gonna expect to get the 100,000 KD the next day, right? And when it comes to building a brand, if you don't invest in building the brand, what you're gonna end up having, or let me put it this way, what is a brand? The brand, your brand is not a logo, it's not social media. Your brand is the real estate you buy in people's brains, right? That's real estate.
And the
so
perception.
Today, so if you have a brand and you're gonna sell it, let's talk about a global brand. Let's say if Apple sells the company tomorrow, they're not just selling you IP and devices, they're also selling a brand equity. This brand equity is real estate in people's minds. And if you're not willing to invest in that, you're losing in this game.
Yeah.
And so the biggest mistake I see a lot of people do is they overly rely on social media. By doing a post every day, they think they've ticked the box, and now they have a marketing strategy, which to me is the fastest way to kill your brand. So if you ask me what are people overusing these days, I would say social media.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you have 100,000 followers, when you create a post, how many is it going to reach? 10,000? How many of those 10,000, and I'm being very optimistic here, right?
True.
How many of these 10,000 will actually take action based on that post? 100? You're not building your business to get 100 customers, right? So I think this is the biggest trap people fall into. To them, social media is the easiest way out to say that they have a marketing strategy, and they end up just putting all their effort into it and going nowhere. And then wondering why their brand failed.
Don't you think because it's the cheapest one out there to do?
But that's the other point. Like, if you're willing to invest in getting an extra store, why don't you want to also use that? Even if you're short on money, why don't you want to use part of this money to build your brand? Again, I'll always talk about Swish because it's an excellent example. Swish started from zero, right? We didn't have, there was a point when we were very small. We could not afford to go on outdoors, but we did sacrifice, for example, getting a big store for going with a big campaign. We've spent money on campaigns that I've seen big brands would not dare spend that kind of money on a campaign. But it paid off. Today, you look at Swish. Swish is the #1 local brand company in Kuwait.
Definitely.
We're growing logarithmically, year on year. And if you ask anyone what's the biggest strength in Swish, is that we have loved brands that we've really invested so much in building. And it never came through just doing a post every day. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And I think this is an issue that a lot of people or a lot of businesses have a blind spot towards.
This brings me a bit to zoom in into Kuwait specifically, since you mentioned the Swish Group. Let's say Yellow Pizza. I think you guys are in FMCGs, and you are an actual store that you walk into, and the aggregators where you're on, like on Carry and the rest of the applications.
Yeah.
If you're splitting the channels, how do you do your actual campaign split and spending?
It's very hard and tricky. There are a lot of factors that fall into it. See, the thing is, at the end of the day, to me, the biggest margin is going to happen when customers come to my store, right? Because it's going to save me having to pay for delivery fees or aggregator commissions and all of that. But at the same time, it also helps me immerse the customer into my experience and atmosphere and vibe and all of that and brand. So this is the best ideal thing that I want. But at the end of the day, what we need, when it comes to QSR, we also need to be true to ourselves and know that convenience is the name of the game right now. When a customer orders and pays 1 KD for delivery, they're paying 1 KD not for your product, they're paying 1 KD for convenience.
Right.
So there's only so much you can push the customer, right? So if I really just spend my whole life trying to push the customer to come to my store, I'm going to be losing out on the convenience game, which is a massive part of the success of any company right now. So to answer your question, I think you have to really balance it between trying to do what's best for your business, but also trying to cater for the convenience of the customer so as not to lose them. Because if you don't do it, someone else will.
Right. Fajr, from an influencer's perspective, let's say if we want to zoom into Kuwait, you as a content creator, how do you prefer to get your briefs? Is it usually a few points that you get, or is it a full-out brief? And what's comfortable for you, or what do you think makes you perform your best?
So I think a brief for a content creator should be your guide. It shouldn't dictate your content, right? It should help you create the content. At the end of the day, you should think of the influencer as someone who is trying to expand your reach and take your message, communicate it with their audience. So for me, the most important part is choosing the right influencer or content creator that fits your brand. If the aesthetics, the type of content creation goes well with the brand, then you have a nice recipe for success, right? The brief should help you, guide you through the content creation process, but it shouldn't dictate. I know a lot of restaurants want to dictate how the influencer creates their content, how the video is done. They even choose the wording, and I think that's when you lose the magic, right?
Do you reject if someone goes that deep with you and say no thank you?
We love teams that have briefs, but we don't like micromanagement because we understand that they've communicated with us because they want to be featured, for example, on Fajr Eats, if they're talking about creating a video to be featured on the account, right? Because a lot of our work is working in the back with the marketing teams. We create a lot of marketing plans and strategies for these restaurants. We create a lot of content for them to use on their channel, on their owned media. But if they're looking to be featured on our account, on Fajr Eats, I think we love to use briefs, of course, especially if there's certain point you want. It's your message at the end of the day. It's the restaurant's message. So you should never depend on the influencer to create that message for you. And I see a lot of restaurants depending on that because they didn't perfect their own media. So then every influencer is going to create their own message, and then you have different people and audiences not knowing who you really are as a restaurant, صح? So we like briefs, they're excellent, but always give the content creator the freedom to explore, and as long as they showcase your brand and your message the way it really is, I think just give them the authenticity and autonomy to create their content for you.
Great. Thank you. Adil, looking at, let's say, both perspectives, from a brand and, let's say, managing also influencers. Your concept as Persona, it's an influencer-led brand, and I think you've launched in the UAE, KSA, and you're launching very soon in Kuwait. Is there something, let's say, that you know Kuwait as a campaign that you have to do, or something that you learned in the UAE or KSA that you will portray here, or maybe you want to try something new? How do you think your entrance will be?
Okay, I would like to introduce Persona in just a few words. So what we do in Persona is we build F&B and FMCG brands in the food sector, strictly for either influencers within the F&B sector, or let's say fan-based communities. It can be a TV channel or a TV show. For example, it can be Top Chef or whatever it is. So how we started is because, as Fajr was saying, it's very important for influencers to start, nowadays, to start expressing themselves when they do contracts or, let's say, engagement with brands. But what we have noticed that also these influencers, they have the interest to create their own brands or something that they actually advocate for. So one of the main things when we started in Saudi Arabia, what we have learned is that each country has a different way approach as in terms of community. So Saudi Arabia is more about gathering, right? More about people being together, gathering and sharing. UAE is more about lifestyle. So while we are studying the Kuwaiti market, and actually I'm taking this event to understand more about Kuwaiti people and the Kuwaiti market itself, and also from a brand perspective, as Ahmed is saying, and also from Fajr as an influencer perspective, I see that the Kuwaiti market is a smaller country market, yet it has higher potential than other countries, and it has so much power of purchasing. And as well, it's an intimate country, an intimate also market where people needs to feel the humor, the localization on the highest level. So the most important thing that I would take in consideration is that whatever brands we're going to build for influencers in the Kuwait has to not feel as an imported brand. It has to feel that's a homegrown brand, locally grown from here. With the culture, with the voice of the country itself. So for now, this is my understanding for the country, is not to feel that it's something that's imported coming from outside. Besides Saudi Arabia, they like the brands that comes from Saudi Arabia and get the attraction from Saudi Arabia. Kuwait likes to create identity, likes to persevere their identity and express it more. So for now, this is my learning, and I'm looking forward to learn more so we can actually have a successful launch in the country, inshallah.
Great, yes, definitely. The eating habits of each country is totally different. How people do sharing, some of them maybe eat late at night, for sure. About storytelling, let's say this is how we're going to manage the actual mix of the earned and paid and owned media. Ahmed, I'd love to hear, and you're, of course, very famous with your campaigns. I'd love to hear how you manage all of these and build a story. Let's say a starting point of a campaign. How would it go? First, you have to, I guess, the product, and then...
All right, so again, I think it all goes back to one point, and that is you have to build your brand persona. Okay, you think of it this way. Your brand is one of the things we say at Swish, we don't build brands, we build friends, right? And so if you imagine this brand as a person, and then when you start thinking about the campaign, you put this person in the context of that campaign, right? Why is he saying this, and why is he doing this now, right? And so when you're very true to your brand persona, what happens is you end up rolling out your campaigns at the right time, in the right tone of voice, and it suddenly becomes part of a story, you know? Now, you have to take this, but then you have to take it to the next level as well, because what you do is you don't just roll out a campaign with an offer. I mean, yes, you do that, but also what you need to do is see how you can roll this out in a different way that sounds like you. For example, if you take a campaign that Yellow Pizza runs, and you try to run it for Shawarma Shaker, it's not going to work. It's not going to work, even if it's just an offer, but it's not going to work. Same with Shawarma Shaker versus BBT. Every brand that we have has a very unique tone of voice. And once you have this unique tone of voice, then you can imagine how would they react to the context of this campaign that you're rolling out. And it makes people try to follow you, because there's one thing I strongly believe, especially in Kuwait, food is not just about filling your hunger, food is entertainment. People actually follow the story, you know.
I love that, yeah.
People love following what you've done. Who did you collaborate with, and who did you snipe? And who did you get into trouble with, you know? And what did you do when you messed up? And I can give you many examples. And the most recent one that everyone knows about is Ananas, right? So they had a bit of a PR problem. But you look at the comeback, right? People were so forgiving with Ananas, and they were like, yes, I see other brands that make this fall into the same problem, and people will boycott them on the spot, right? And a big part of that goes back to the brand love. People will be much more willing to forgive you, but they also they feel much more related to you. And so they will interact with you in a very different way. And I think this all plays a very big part when it comes to storytelling.
I definitely noticed that when you say persona. And do you experiment sometimes? For example, Yellow Pizza, I can see they always do English ads. Do you try to do something Arabic, or never, khalas, that's in a book?
Okay, so I think I like this question. So the thing is, again, part of the persona. So I'll give you two brands, Yellow Pizza versus Shawarma Shaker.
Yeah, totally.
So when we build the brand persona, I think this is an exercise a lot of companies do. You know, I want to build the brand, and I think of it as a person and all of that. And we're not the first to do that. But I think a small tip would be this: when we build our brand persona, we think about all the details, right? So is it a guy or a lady? Did they drive a car? What kind of car did they drive? How did they laugh? What kind of watch did they wear? A lot of brands do that, but where I think they fall short is they will try to build a very perfect personality, which is not realistic and people can't relate to.
True.
While when we build our brand personas, we will always look for a flaw to add into this personality that makes it much more human and people can relate to, right? And so when you do that, what happens is everything you start doing is starts to become believable, and people will start to become loyal to you.
So you do experiment.
Sorry?
You do experiment and mix it up a little.
That's the point. So once you start with that, the brand persona becomes an animal of its own, and it starts developing by itself with every situation it gets put into. But because we're all aligned on how it would react, it just starts developing by itself.
Right.
Now, if you ask me why am I doing yellow pizza, why do we speak in English with yellow pizza, but with Shaker we only speak in Arabic? Because Shaker, the face of Shaker or the persona of Shaker is Ammi Shaker. He's a Lebanese guy stuck in the 80s who is very, he's very Lebanese and he's not really exposed.
Right.
So he has to be speaking in Arabic, right? Because this is his culture. While with the yellow pizza, the positioning of the brand, this is an American cuisine. So it's a very Americanized brand. So that's why we really go with a lot of English. Sometimes to a point where we don't care if people will understand what we're saying, but it reinforces the persona that this is an American brand.
Makes sense. Very logical.
So, yeah, this is how you do it, you know?
Great. I love that answer. Fajr, now talking about, again, from an influencer perspective, I think this is something that all brand owners struggle with. Let's say I'm doing an ad with you, and I want to post the same ad on TikTok and Instagram and, let's say, a third channel. How do you manage that? Is it okay to copy-paste everything over there, or what do you suggest?
Okay.
Or maybe story even, or, you know...
So I love Ahmed's point because honestly in Kuwait, Sludge, even Adil touched on this, word of mouth is so powerful and you will only get it if there is a story behind your product, صح? I think even Fajr Eats, the way it started, it's because we gave a backstory to each restaurant and to each food or product that we ate. So it's so important, and it goes into everything we're going to talk about today. But just to give you, of course you can copy and paste your content. Some restaurants maybe don't need to, no, they need to, but some restaurants do that. They copy and paste, a lot of influencers too, because the message is the same, right? But for me, when I think about it, each of these channels has a purpose. For example, you still have an audience or demographic that uses Snapchat. So you need to have a Snapchat presence. But the content that goes on Snapchat is different than the content you would post on Instagram and TikTok, right? Snapchat is also very difficult to analyze, and you don't really own the data because it's a short-term app. You lose the data or content after 12 or 24 hours. So I wouldn't recommend Snapchat to rely on as a restaurant, just because you don't really own the data. There's not a lot of friendly apps that allow you to plug in your Snapchat and analyze it.
Right.
And then you have Instagram, where it's more of your home base. It has become in Kuwait, because Kuwait is one of the leading countries using this app, right? So as a brand, to be on Instagram, you can showcase your personality, you can play around with reels, with pictures, with posts. I think your main, even just to look at a menu, صح? How many times have we all sat and we want to wonder what we want to eat? And you go to their Instagram page, right? So you can think of it as your home base.
Right.
TikTok is where it's fast-paced content, you have trends, it's more fun, it's more engaging, it's entertainment, right? So adjust your content to that. So if you're a restaurant, maybe you have your nice editorial pictures, your short reels that showcase your customer experience in the store, and then your TikTok, that's where your marketing teams can really have fun with it. I know everybody in the company, when they see the marketing team running around and doing a TikTok, they just want to hide away. But it's so important, and that's how you stay relevant, because Gen Z is on TikTok, and the younger generations are all on TikTok, and that's your future as a restaurant. You know, you grow with them.
Yeah.
So I think if you think about these apps as different demographics and different audiences and age groups, it's going to be easier for you to even think about what kind of content they like to engage with, right? The younger crowd wants it straight to the point, even with the videos on TikTok.
Makes sense. With the TikTok, probably they have lives and all of that.
Instagram, you have more room to really showcase your brand, show it off in your reels and videos and pictures. And then Snapchat can be more behind the scenes, teasers, go into the kitchen with the chef, show them how you're doing the dish. You can really play with Snapchat and gain loyalty with it.
Thank you, Fajr. Adil, I'll end with you to understand your perspective on entering, let's say, all the GCC countries with the different dialects. How do you do campaigns across all channels? Do you have to tailor it, edit it? It's interesting to know how you actually do it.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. I think Ahmed said persona more than 20 times, so I feel like I'm getting free advertisement, so I'm very grateful for that.
Anytime.
Second, what I would say is we would learn from big companies. For example, let's say Red Bull. Red Bull, their slogan is, Red Bull gives you wings, right? So eventually, the heartbeat of the message is the North Star. It should be the same over all countries. But the expression of it, the execution of it, it can be localized for each country. So in Saudi Arabia, let's say it's about gathering. So let's say Red Bull is about making your gathering fast, who's driving, something like that. In UAE, it's about paragliding, it's about sports. In Kuwait, it might be happening in a style of humor. So the North Star, the message should be the same. The execution can adapt to each country, but the message has to be the same heartbeat. And that's it, and thank you for everything.
It's a pleasure. Thank you all for being here today. I think to wrap up everything, it's all about how to create a cohesive story, thinking about your brand persona, and of course, the main thing for us is to deliver results and a proper ROI. Thank you, guys, for all of this.
Thank you, Abdullah.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists and moderator. If I could just ask you to come to the front of the stage just to have a group photo, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much. Let's give all our speakers today a wonderful round of applause. They've all been absolutely amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, have you enjoyed the very first FFCC here in Kuwait? We've enjoyed being here. Thank you so much to Minnie and George from Oddbox and the co-founders for putting this together. And he doesn't normally come up and do this, so we're putting him on the spot today. You've seen him running around behind the scenes all throughout the day, getting our speakers ready to issue the closing remarks. Please welcome Sufyan to the stage. Let's give him a live round of applause. He organizes so much of this event.
Thank you, Emma. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the close of the very first edition of FFCC, as the last panelists rightly were talking about storytelling, I think our story in Kuwait has just begun. Yes, we stand for learn, network, and collaborate. I hope you did enjoy the day and hope you had a productive one. So I would like to extend a huge thank you to advisors, to our panelists, to our sponsors and partners. Ladies and gentlemen, you see the booths outside. It was all done in a day. And I would like to thank the team behind it for putting it all together. A huge round of applause to them. To the team sitting behind the console, those guys worked through the night to put all this together. So all in all, a big thank you to each and everyone. And inshallah, we look forward to seeing you next year, bigger and better. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Absolutely amazing. And it's all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for being here. Without you, this doesn't happen. So give yourselves a nice big round of applause. We like to keep the energy going. We've got tea, coffee, refreshments outside, and some snacks. Keep the learning, the networking, collaboration going. My name is Emma. It's been an absolute pleasure to be your host here today. And we hope to see you all again soon. Thank you so much. And get home safely.